Hi, welcome to MovieNest. Let's dive into today's mind-blowing film. As the needle hovers over the boy's arm, it looks like it might go straight through him. He's that thin. Come on, girls, look at that. He's making me cry. 3, 2, 1, the countdown begins. The story opens in 1942, in the thick of World War II, a time when the world was tearing itself apart. A Hydra officer named Johann Schmidt, ruthless and commanding, storms into a quiet village with his Nazi troops. His mission? To seize a glowing blue artifact known only as the Tesseract, a mysterious relic rumored to possess otherworldly powers. Powers strong enough to tip the balance of the war, or even reshape the world itself. This place took me a long time to find, Schmidt mutters as he pries open a hidden chamber. What you seek is just a legend. A guardian protests. Then why go through so much trouble to hide it? Schmidt replies coldly. The Tesseract, once kept in Odin's treasure room, is not something meant to be buried or forgotten. As he touches it, a warning echoes. You cannot control the power you hold. You will burn. Schmidt, unflinching, answers, I already have. Meanwhile, in New York, young men are lining up in droves to enlist in the U.S. military. Among them is Steve Rogers, a frail, asthmatic kid from Brooklyn. It's his 5th attempt to join the army. Despite trying different recruitment offices and falsifying his information, he's rejected again due to his long list of medical issues. But Steve's dream of serving his country refuses to die. Give me a chance, he pleads. You'd be disqualified for your asthma alone, the officer says. Every able-bodied man is lining up to serve. Why don't you just go watch the movie? Someone sneers nearby, but Steve doesn't back down. Hey, he snaps. You want to shut up? The guy picks a fight. Steve, small as he is, stands his ground. I can do this all day. Later, his best friend, Sergeant James Bucky Barnes, shows up, charming, strong, and already enlisted. He's shipping out to England the next day. Come on, man, let's enjoy the night. You need a break. That evening, the two friends attend an expo showcasing futuristic technologies, hosted by none other than Howard Stark, a brilliant inventor. But Steve's eyes aren't on the tech. He sneaks off and tries to enlist again. Bucky tries to talk him out of it. Maybe the army's not for you. There are other ways to help. He even offers Steve a spot on his scrap metal wagon. But Steve shakes his head. I don't want to give up. I know I'm meant to do more. Unbeknownst to Steve, someone is listening. Dr. Abraham Erskine, a German scientist working for the U.S. government's Strategic Scientific Reserve, has been watching him. What he sees in Steve isn't strength, it's heart. Erskine approaches Steve while he's waiting for yet another physical. He flips through Steve's file. 5 tries in 5 different cities. That's unusual. Steve explains he just wants to serve, not to kill Nazis, but to stand up against bullies, no matter where they're from. That's all Erskine needs to hear. Maybe what we need right now is a little guy. And where's the little guy from? Brooklyn, Steve replies, with quiet pride. Congratulations, soldier. These words mark the beginning of a transformation, one that will change not just a man, but the course of history. Meanwhile, deep inside a hidden laboratory, Johann Schmidt stands with Dr. Arnim Zola. Their focus is on the Tesseract, a glowing blue cube pulsing with unfathomable energy. Zola has designed a mechanism to harness and transfer its power, and it works. As the device begins to store the Tesseract's energy, Schmidt watches with satisfaction. This can change the world, he says, eyes gleaming with ambition. Back in America, Steve Rogers begins his military training. Despite his heart and commitment, his body still holds him back. He struggles to keep up with the other recruits, climbing ropes, marching in formation, completing drills. Colonel Phillips, who oversees the program, doubts Steve's abilities. He's too weak, he argues. The serum's not meant for someone like him. But Dr. Erskine disagrees. He sees something more in Steve, something no test can measure. We're going to win this war, Phillips declares, because we've got the best men. He wants to create not just an army, but a new breed of soldiers, stronger, faster, unbeatable. The Super Soldier Project will start with one man, and that man is yet to be chosen. During a training exercise, the soldiers are challenged. Whoever retrieves the flag from a pole gets a ride back with Agent Carter. All the bigger guys try climbing, slipping, falling, until Steve calmly removes the pole's pin, causing the flag to drop. He hands it over and earns his ride. Still, doubts remain. You're not really thinking about picking Rogers, are you? A soldier mutters. Stick a needle in that kid's arm and it'll go right through him. Colonel Phillips continues to push for a stronger candidate like Hodge, a physically perfect soldier who passes every test. He's big, he's fast, he's a bully. Erskine replies quietly. Suddenly, a grenade is tossed into the group. The soldiers scatter, except for Steve. Without hesitation, he throws himself on it, ready to sacrifice his life. When it doesn't explode, just a test, everyone turns. Steve is still curled over the grenade, shielding others. He's still skinny, the colonel admits, but maybe you're right. That night, before the big day, Erskine visits Steve in his room. The mood is calm, almost reflective. Steve asks why he was chosen. Erskine explains that Schmidt, now the head of Hydra, a secret Nazi division, once took the same serum, but the power amplified his darkest traits. Unlike Hitler, Schmidt doesn't dream of world domination through myths. He believes in ancient forces buried beneath the earth, powers left behind by gods. Erskine's voice softens as he explains why he chose Steve. Because you're weak, he says. A weak man knows the value of strength, and the value of compassion. He urges Steve to stay true to himself, to not just become a good soldier, but to remain a good man. Erskine offers Steve a drink to calm his nerves, then stops himself. You can't, not tonight. After the procedure, we'll drink together. They smile and shake on it. Elsewhere, in another Hydra lab, Zola and Schmidt discuss the super soldier serum. Schmidt has tracked down Erskine's location and dispatched an assassin to eliminate him. If they can destroy the serum, they'll erase the Allies' only hope of matching Hydra's strength. Once it's gone, Schmidt says coldly, victory will be inevitable. The next morning, Steve is escorted to a hidden facility where the experiment is to take place. As they arrive, he shares a light moment with Agent Carter. I know this neighborhood. Got beat up in that alley once. In that parking lot too. He chuckles. You start running, they'll never let you stop. Then, more sincerely, he asks, why would someone as smart and beautiful as you want to join the army? She raises an eyebrow. Inside the lab, Dr. Erskine prepares everyone for what's about to happen. This is the first step toward peace, he announces. The serum will be infused into Steve's muscles, triggering immediate cellular transformation. He'll be saturated with Vita rays to stimulate growth, he explains. Tony Stark's father, Howard Stark, monitors the energy levels. We take no further steps toward destruction, Erskine continues, only toward peace. Someone jokes, somebody get that kid a sandwich. Stark confirms the system is ready, levels at 100%. The procedure begins. Steve is enclosed in a chamber, injected with the serum. That wasn't so bad, he says. That was just penicillin, someone replies. The countdown begins. 3, 2, 1. The room fills with light and rising tension. 20%, 30%, 70%. Suddenly, Steve screams in pain. Shut it down, someone yells. No, I can do this, Steve shouts through the agony. 90%, 100%. The machine powers down. The door opens, and standing there is not the skinny kid from Brooklyn, but a taller, broader, stronger Steve Rogers. The room is silent. So, we did it, someone finally says. Yeah, we did. Then, chaos. Stop him! An assassin reveals himself. Shots are fired. Erskine is in danger. Steve moves instinctively, faster, stronger than before. But in the chaos, something is lost. I'm sorry, Steve whispers. No, wait, don't go after him. I can swim. Steve dives into action, desperate to stop the assassin who's just taken Dr. Erskine's life. But it's too late, and with Erskine's death, the last vial of the super soldier serum is gone. What was meant to create an army of heroes now rests in one man. Back at Hydra's secret headquarters, Johann Schmidt, now fully consumed by his transformation into the Red Skull, speaks confidently to his inner circle. He unveils new weapons powered by the Tesseract, capable of reducing entire cities, even humans, to dust. When his officers realize he's planning to turn these weapons against not just the Allies but even Germany itself, they begin to question him. Schmidt scoffs at their loyalty. Hitler speaks of a 1,000-year Reich, yet he can't even feed his armies for a month. One general accuses him of chasing fantasies, but Schmidt calmly points to a world map. My weapons can wipe out every hostile capital on Earth. Berlin is on this map. The room falls silent, until he raises his fist and growls, "Hail Hydra!" One by one, the officers fall in line. "Hail Hydra!" In response, the Strategic Scientific Reserve officially declares Hydra its top priority. Colonel Phillips informs Agent Carter and the others that they're relocating their efforts to London to begin directly engaging Hydra forces. Steve offers to join them on the front lines, but is told no. He's not just a soldier anymore, he's the only successful result of the super soldier program. If something happens to him, the project dies with him. So instead of the battlefield, Steve is sent on a nationwide propaganda tour. Senator Brandt presents him to the world as Captain America, a living symbol of American courage and strength. Wearing a red, white, and blue costume, Steve performs on stage, urging citizens to buy war bonds. He punches out actors dressed as Hitler. He smiles for cameras. He becomes a comic book star, a movie icon, a symbol. But that's all he is, a symbol. And deep down, Steve Rogers knows he was meant for more. In November 1943, Steve Rogers finds himself performing in front of active servicemen stationed in Italy, but the reaction he receives is far from what he hoped. The soldiers heckle him, asking for the dancers to return and mocking his costume, calling him Tinkerbell. It's humiliating. Deep down, Steve feels completely out of place. He didn't sign up to be a sideshow. He steps off the stage, heart heavy with disappointment. All he's ever wanted was to serve his country on the front lines, not entertain troops in a costume. Later, Agent Peggy Carter finds him. Steve opens up to her, sharing that ever since he was a kid, he dreamed of fighting in the real war, side by side with other soldiers. Peggy listens, and gently reminds him that he's meant for something greater. That fire in Steve never died, and when he learns that his best friend Bucky Barnes and his entire unit have gone missing during a battle with Hydra, his determination ignites even stronger. He's devastated but refuses to stand by. As he pleads for more information, a commanding officer coldly reminds him he's 30 miles behind enemy lines and sarcastically asks if he plans to walk to Austria. Steve doesn't flinch. He says, if that's what it takes. He turns back to Peggy and asks if she truly meant it, that he was meant for more. She assures him every word of it was true. That's all Steve needs. With help from Carter and Howard Stark, Steve suits up and heads toward enemy territory. He's done being a symbol. It's time to become a soldier. Meanwhile, inside Hydra's main factory, Dr. Zola informs Johann Schmidt that their Tesseract-powered weapons are progressing on schedule. They've been using prisoners of war for forced labor, treating them as nothing more than tools. What they don't expect is what's coming. Steve infiltrates the facility and immediately starts freeing the imprisoned soldiers. The moment he arrives, hope spreads like wildfire. One of the prisoners tells him there's an isolated ward deep within the factory, a place no one ever returns from. That's all Steve needs to hear. He continues the search, hoping Bucky is still alive. As the other soldiers fight back and begin to destroy the facility, Steve pushes deeper inside. Eventually, Steve finds Bucky, weak, injured, but alive. Steve helps him up, stunned to see what Hydra has done to him. Bucky, half-dazed, tries to brush it off, saying he joined the army, but Steve can tell something's not right. As they make their escape, Schmidt confronts them. He declares that Steve was his greatest success and insists that Hydra has left humanity behind. But Steve throws it right back at him, asking, then why are you running? With explosions shaking the building, Steve and Bucky barely make it out. Back at the Allied base, Senator Brand is told that Steve has gone missing and is likely dead. Agent Carter and Colonel Phillips both try to hide their concern, but Carter is clearly shaken. Phillips suspects she's developed feelings for Steve, though she brushes it off. Just then, to everyone's shock and relief, Steve returns, not only alive, but with Bucky, dozens of rescued soldiers, and stolen Hydra equipment. It's a heroic entrance, and everyone takes notice. Steve is awarded the Medal of Valor and, more importantly, earns the respect of the senior officers. He's finally allowed to fight directly in the war, not as a performer, but as Captain America. But Steve knows this fight isn't over. He tells Colonel Phillips that he wants to lead a team to dismantle Hydra completely and take down Schmidt. He recruits Bucky and several of the rescued soldiers into his new unit, a squad known as the Howling Commandos. As they prepare for their first mission together, Bucky smiles and tells Steve he's still following that little punk from Brooklyn who refused to back down from any fight. Steve asks if he's ready to follow Captain America into the jaws of death, and Bucky jokes about whether he's keeping the costume. Steve grins and admits, it's kind of grown on me. With his team assembled and his purpose clear, Steve is finally exactly where he always wanted to be, fighting for what's right, shoulder to shoulder with his brothers in arms. The war is far from over, but Captain America is just getting started. Steve Rogers is no longer just a dancing monkey in a costume. After being mocked during a performance for troops, he realizes he's done pretending. He wants to fight for real. At Stark's lab, while checking out new tech, a woman flirts with Steve, but Peggy walks in, clearly disappointed. She tells Steve he's acting like every other soldier. Her words hit harder than he expected. Howard Stark introduces Steve to a unique shield, made of vibranium, the strongest metal on Earth. Light, durable, and rare. Steve picks it up and knows right away. This is the real beginning of Captain America. Soon, Steve is sent on a dangerous mission. Hydra scientist Zola is traveling by train, and Steve, along with Bucky and another soldier, launch an ambush. The fight is intense and ends in heartbreak. Bucky falls off the train, lost to the snowy cliffs below. Steve is crushed. He blames himself, but he still completes the mission and captures Zola. From Zola, they learn Schmidt, the Red Skull, plans to destroy half the world using weapons powered by the Tesseract. His goal? Not just victory, total domination. Cut off one head, he says. 2 more shall take its place, fueled by grief and purpose. Steve leads a mission to take down Hydra's final base, hidden deep in the Alps. He fights his way in, alone at first, like a soldier on a mission with nothing to lose. Eventually, he boards Schmidt's massive warplane, where he learns the full scale of the threat. Entire cities are targets. Steve fights Schmidt in the cockpit. In the chaos, the Tesseract activates and swallows Schmidt into a glowing portal. Left with no way to land safely, Steve makes the hardest decision of his life, to crash the plane into the Arctic, saving millions. Before going down, he radios Peggy. She begs him not to do it, but Steve calmly promises her a dance. Next Saturday, 8 p.m. Don't be late, she says. His voice fades, and then, silence. Steve Rogers disappears into the ice. The world believes Captain America is gone. Stark recovers the Tesseract, but Steve's body is never found. Peggy stares at his photo, heartbroken, until one day, Steve wakes up. He's in a room designed to look like the 1940s, but something's off. The radio plays a baseball game from 1941, a game he remembers being at. When he steps outside, he's surrounded by agents. Nick Fury appears. "Steve, you've been asleep for nearly 70 years. Everything's changed. The war is over. The world has moved on." But Steve Rogers, he's just getting started. If you enjoyed this recap of Captain America, the First Avenger, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more epic stories, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a hero's tale.